Good morning, welcome back to the Breakfast Club. It's so good to see you this morning. Today we are going to talk about yoga philosophy again. And maybe you remember last time we talked about yoga philosophy, it was all about elephants. Today it will all be about ice cream. So I love yoga philosophy because you can basically choose any example and it will always work and we'll get something out of it, I promise. And we are going to think about one of the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali again. And Patanjali compiled the Yoga Sutras over 2000 years ago. And I would say it's one of the first self-help books out there on how to become more aware of yourself, of your feelings, what you can do with yourself, how you can treat others, you can treat your body. But then at the end, in the fourth book, it's all about freedom. And there are cool things about how to lift yourself off the ground or how to be in different places at the same time. But what might be more relevant for us today is how to understand that you are not your mind and that your mind is not you, and you can actually choose what your mind is doing in your favor, but at the end also not think about your own egoistic favors, but be free. And one of the sutras I wanted to talk to you about goes like this: vastu-sāmye, citta-bhedāt, tayor, vibhaktaḥ, panthāḥ. And that's 415, and it basically translates as in each object, each situation is perceived differently according to the state of mind of the person who perceives it. So at the end of the day, when we come back to the ice cream, it's like everybody sees the ice cream, but we all see it differently. We all have different thoughts and different impressions of the ice cream depending on our own state of mind. Think like, okay, yeah, so what? But I think it's very interesting because when we look at the ice cream picture, then for someone who is super hungry, it must be like, oh, food, I want to have that immediately. For someone with diabetes, it might be like, nothing for me, that's something scary. Or for a vegan person, it might be something like, okay, who had to suffer to give them milk for the ice cream? Or if you show the picture to a dog, the dog might not understand anything because it's a picture and dogs cannot really see what's on pictures. Or if you show the picture to someone from another planet, they might not even get that it's a picture and don't get anything out of it. So with this simple example, it shows us that whatever happens in the outside, whatever there is in images, in radio news, in situations, people, when two people perceive the same thing, they see completely different things. That is pretty interesting, I think, also right now in the corona crisis. So if you ask different people about the corona crisis, some people say, oh, this is the scariest virus ever. Other people might say, oh, this is the scariest thing happening to our democracy. Or if you ask New Age people, they might say, this is our chance to finally wake up and change the world once and for all for the good. So there are all these different opinions about what is basically the same thing. Or when you look at other translations of the sutra, they always say that the objects or the situations in themselves, they are empty. We fill them we project onto them what we think is relevant, what we think is correct, what we think is right. And we mistake that our current state of mind, our fluctuations must be the right ones. But when you compare them to others, someone is looking at the ice cream and saying, yummy, I love ice cream. And the other one is saying, oh, this is not so good for me. Then you can already understand that the same thing leads to two completely different versions, leads to two completely different visions and versions of the same thing, the mainly object that is empty in itself. And that made me think of 4 different ways what we can actually learn from that is, of course, firstly, to be more tolerant. When we talk to people about different things, then understand that they have a completely different worldview because they were brought up differently, they have another state of mind, they have another day, and so it's totally okay to have different opinions about the same thing, to be more tolerant and to be more open to other people's opinions. And then the other thing, I think, what we can learn out of it is that we can also be more tolerant to ourselves, that it's totally okay that when you change your opinion on things, so you might think about things differently than 10 years ago, or even yesterday ago, or if you're tired, or if you just had a great day. So you look at things and fill them up and project different things onto the ice cream, depending on how you're feeling that day. So you can also be way more tolerant with yourself and way more accepting when you change your opinion and you change what you think is right or wrong. And thirdly, and that's more interesting, is to understand the things themselves are empty and we can basically choose what we want to think. So to understand that there are these mechanisms of the fluctuations of the mind, they help us to understand that we can choose what we want to think and what we want to project onto things. And going onto that meta level can make us reflect on our fluctuations of the mind and understand that they are changeable. And so when they are changeable and when they might differ yesterday from today, it might be also a chance that we can choose what we want to think about the object. So as a third and master step on vastu-sāmye, citta-bhedāt, tayor, vibhaktaḥ, panthāḥ. So how do you want to perceive the ice cream? How do you want to perceive what's going on? Do you want to still believe your old fluctuations of the mind, or do you want to change that and think about things differently and whatever you want to do? Good. So have fun with today's Yoga Sutra and have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.